Hey, this is Trader Travis, and welcome to another Philosophical Friday, where this week I will talk about the pain of poverty, but also how poverty can be very profitable for you. Now, I know that sounds ironic and contradictory, but you'll see where I'm going with this. Before I get started, I want to remind you of the last Philosophical Friday where I talked about someone who had lost roughly 75% of his money trading options, because I want to continue the conversation we had in the last Philosophical Friday. And if you're new to Philosophical Friday, it's once or twice a month I leave you with something philosophical on a Friday, something for you to think about, to break up the monotony of always talking about money. I'm not all about money, even though that's what, we're talking about, investing and things like that. I view money as a means to an end. It's not the end all goal. I don't worship money. And I realize that how you handle money really largely depends on how you think about life and how you think about money. So Philosophical Friday, I share some of the best tips and lessons I learned from my millionaire mentors about how to process the challenges of life and how to think about life in general, how to think about life from the viewpoint of a millionaire. And so the reason I want to continue this conversation from the last episode, because I'm tying it into today's lesson, and here's why. Well, here's how I'm going to do that. First, I will talk about my past and the things I still struggle with today. That's the pain of poverty, my past. I'll share what I feel is the greatest reason I am financially independent, or at least one of the largest contributing factors to the reason I'm financially independent today. And then I will end with looking back now, what was my biggest roadblock to creating wealth, which coincidentally wind up being the same roadblock the guy who lost 75% of his money had. So I'll walk you through how I overcame that roadblock, what I did to help him overcome that roadblock, and then share the results after overcoming that roadblock. And I'll give you a little spoiler alert here. The option trades he found earned a 414% return on our money in 1 month. So, imagine having a business where you put in, $95 and you get out like $300 each and every month. Would you want a business like that? So before I get to all that, that's towards the end. I want to first start off with sharing what I call the pain of poverty. And it's a particular painful part of my past. And I don't really talk about it much. I don't really like to talk about it much. And that's when I realized, why do I not share it much? People are like, oh, you need to share your story, Travis. I'm like, yeah, that's nice. They need to know how far you've come. I'm like, and I was always hesitant. I never really realized why. And I realized just yesterday why. It's because it always puts me in a really bad mental space. And I don't like feeling like that. So here's what I'm talking about. First, this came about because someone said, well, what really drove you to trade options? Was it the low cost of entry and high potential returns and all that other stuff? I'm like, yeah, that was nice. The thought of not, needing a $30,000 to trade stocks with, I could start with like $2,000 or something like that, which I found out is still not enough. But anyway, I was reflecting on why. One, I knew, I was a failing real estate investor. I had a problem, I needed a solution. I knew that the money I was earning from my job wasn't going to cut it. I needed something that could help me make money faster, and that happened to be options. But even beside all of that, that was like the catalyst that pushed me towards learning options. But underneath all that, behind all of that, was a real emotional reason I was actually on that path to build wealth anyway. The path to why I became a real estate investor, and which led me to become an option trader, right? Why was I on that path? Well, to understand why, I have to take you back to a mission trip I went on to Guatemala some years ago, where I met many people growing up in poverty, kids walking around with no shoes, elders sweeping dirt sidewalks in the morning. And I met many people who were happy and fulfilled living in poverty. They had so much joy in their life, more joy than us spoiled Americans who were there to help them. And I found that interesting, because that wasn't my story. And if it was my story, you probably wouldn't be talking to me today. But I do know that you don't need money to be happy. You can find joy in poverty. But unfortunately, that wasn't, again, my story. I grew up poor too, American poor, house with no running water, bathroom. We had like an old dirty water well. That was the only water source, and that was outside. We used a 5-gallon paint bucket for a toilet. My dad kept it in the back room, and that's what we had as a toilet. Because again, we didn't have any bathroom in the house. Outside was what they call an outhouse. It was like an old wood shack that you dig a hole in the ground, you put a wood shack over it, and that's what you poop in. But anyway, enough of that. I don't want to get you too many visuals there. But anyway, that was my environment growing up, and I thought, strangers leaving food and donated clothing on our doorstep was normal. I was just telling my wife that this morning. I was like, I thought that was normal until I got to school, and the kids who teased me at school made me painfully aware that there are two classes of people: the haves and the have-nots. And the haves, they always made me feel like a worthless piece of crap that didn't belong on this earth. They made me feel like I wasn't good enough, and sadly, that's feeling, it's like it's seared in me. I still feel like that sometimes today. Even in the neighborhood we live in, with the amenities we have, and being a high income earner, I still have this plaguing feeling sometimes when I'm in places that I'm not good enough. Like, I don't belong here. Even the looks sometimes people give me, like, what are you doing here? Like, they're surprised that I'm here. Some young guy who lives in a community full of retired people who worked all their life to earn what they earn. And here you are, some little young buck, earning the same income or being able to afford the same luxuries that we have. So, I work through that. However, I don't psychoanalyze myself that much, but it's still there, and it drives me, and that's good. I use it to my advantage, and that's how I use the pain of poverty to my advantage. I use all that pain I felt growing up, and I vowed that my kids would never have to feel the pain of poverty, being teased, made fun of, going to school with no clothes in the winter. My wife, she has no frame of reference because she grew up spoiled, which, gosh, don't even let me get into that. But she was like, she's like, she said, it's so weird because I don't see you that way. She says, but you were one of the kids that people talk about today, like something she said, like a backpack program where schools fill backpacks or something like that full of food and send it home to the kids because they usually don't eat on the weekends. The only meals they usually have, or the meals they have at school. And I laughed. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just my story, right? I'm used to it. But she has no frame of reference because she didn't grow up like that. So it's hard for her to know that people go without food for days or weeks on end. They're starving. I stole my first jacket because I was going to school in the winter with no coat, just short sleeve shirts. And I was so cold one day, I wound up stealing a jacket. I just couldn't take it anymore, which is not one of the most proud moments of my life, but it is what it is. And on that side note, that vowing that my kids would never feel the pain of poverty, I accomplished that. But that brought up some other challenges that I'm still trying to work through today, and that's what I struggle with. I hate is a strong word. Sometimes I get bitter and I dislike my kids' lifestyle that I created. That's the crazy part. The thing I don't like about them, I was like, I created that. They don't have to struggle. They don't have to feel the pain of what I felt. They get full love. But what I struggle with now is what Mark Cuban, the billionaire, talked about. He said one of his struggles, and he's trying to learn how to do, is how to raise rich kids who don't act like entitled brats, who are afraid of hard work and feel like the world owes them something. And I don't think my kids act like that, but definitely they don't know what the type of work I knew. Like, we watched this movie, McFarland's, I think it was called, where these Hispanic kids got up like 4 or 5 in the morning, or while it was still dark, they worked on a farm, and then they had to go to school after that, and after school they practiced track and things like that. I'm like, that's the kind of work I'm used to, where you're like, everybody's contributing to the family. I'm like, my kids don't know that kind of work, so I'm trying to teach them to respect struggle, to respect not having, try to raise kids who don't complain when they have to ride around in a car that doesn't have AC or a DVD player, because those are the things they're used to. So that's the challenge now, is like, this is uncharted territory for me. I don't know what this is like. It's all new, and I don't know how to raise kids because I grew up in poverty. That's all I know. The values I learned from poverty, I wouldn't trade them for anything. So I'm trying to instill those same values in my kids who have no clue, probably will never have any clue what that feels like. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. But I'm going back to the pain of poverty, that feeling of not feeling good enough, to have, rich people turn their nose up at you because they have more than you. I hated that. I still hate that to today. And which I vowed to not be one of those people that when I became financially independent, I will still be cool, humble. I wouldn't look down upon people or think I was better than them because of all the people that made fun of me growing up. But I own my feelings. My feelings are my own. But anyway, success was my revenge. Sometimes they say success is the best revenge. Success was my revenge, my way to get back at all the people who thought they were better than me. Success was my middle finger salute to all the bosses who were complete jerks. I'm thinking of one in particular who laughed in my face when I shared my dreams of becoming a real estate investor and becoming financially independent. He literally laughed in my face, and I can't remember his exact words, but pretty much it was a stupid dream and I would never accomplish it. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll show you. Option success, financial success, it was just my response to all the friends and family members who told me that I'd never be anything, who didn't support my goals, who tried to pull me down and say, oh, it sounds too good to be true. You can't get rich doing that stuff. It's just, when I think about all that pain I went through, it puts me in a really bad mental space. It brings up a lot of not so pleasant memories. And that's probably why I don't talk about the story so much. It wound up being a good thing because it helped push me forward. But trust me, it's not something I want to think about all the time because I start to get upset again. So anyway, that's the pain of poverty. The profit of poverty, how poverty can be profitable for you is if you grew up poor like me, or you're in that environment where you're working 3 jobs, you can't get ahead. Yeah, that can be profitable for you because you can use all that pain in a positive way. You can use it to propel you forward to say, I cannot stand living like this. I do not want to live like this. And I don't care. I will die trying, but I'm going to find a way to become financially independent, to become rich, whatever, rich, financially independent. There are 2 different things to me. I don't care about being rich. I just care about being financially independent, where I can choose to work and not have to work, where I don't have to look at price tags or things or worry about costs, that our lifestyle is funded by our investments. That's, where I want to be, debt free and things like that. So that is how I feel pain can be profitable, is if you use that, pain of poverty to propel you forward. Other than, because there are poor people who grow up bitter and angry at the haves and hate people with money and hate people who have more than them, and they become really angry. So you can also become the angry poor person. But luckily, I became a motivated poor person. And now, if there's any anger or bitterness, it's usually towards my kids. Like, stop complaining. Like, seriously, you don't have to deal with half of the stuff I dealt with, and you're complaining because I'm making you go out and pull weeds in the yard or something like that. I don't know. My kids are pretty good, but still, it's hard. I created this situation that I don't like, so I'm finding a way to deal with it. So that's I feel is one of the greatest reasons I'm financially independent. It's all that pain I went through. But, I think would help me not become bitter and angry is a compelling vision for your future. And this will help you too. If you're not taking action towards your goals, you don't wake up every day excited, you don't jump out of bed ready to tackle another day. Maybe it's because you don't have a compelling vision for your future. You view another future of going to work at a job you hate, things like that. I don't know. But I had a compelling vision for my future, vowing that my kids would never have to feel the pain of poverty, vowing all the things that I said I would do, I accomplished every single thing. So if you don't have a compelling vision for your future that's so strong that, I saw an old paper I wrote and I said I felt like I had Mountain Dew flowing through my veins. It's because I was just so driven. But I was only driven because of all the pain and the vision I had. So my goal for you and my desire for you is that you create that compelling vision that drives you forward. It has to be a strong vision. The things you're going to do, what do you want to accomplish? Make it so big that you feel like you can't accomplish it. Make it a strong vision that motivates you to action. Now, I know that sounds woo-woo, but that's what I've seen that works for most people. Now, the biggest roadblock I face, surprisingly, to creating wealth, and the same roadblock I felt that the guy who lost all that money had, was how we think. So my millionaires, Dave Ramsey, one of my the mentor who helped me get out of debt, the guy I always recommend people go to get out of debt, DaveRamsey.com. He said that success with money is 80% mental, 20% technical. Now, that wasn't new to me. I heard that from every millionaire I learned from. They said success with money is 80% mental, 20% technical. However, most people spend 80% of their time or 90% of their time on the technicals and very little time on how they think. The summary was all the millionaires said it's not about strategies. It's not about real estate investing. It's not about option trading. If you don't have the money and wealth that you want, they kept saying that it's based on how you think, how you process life, which is why I love these Philosophical Fridays. Now, I'm on the other end of that, and I happen to agree with them now. Now that I've actually have some money, I can look back and say, yeah, it definitely was the way I was thinking, because I failed as a real estate investor. I had other people taking the exact same class as me. They were succeeding. I'm failing. It's not the technicals. I know that for a fact now, because I'm like, we're learning the exact same strategies. Why are they rich and I'm broke? And it's because I had the tools of the wealthy, but the mindset of a poor person. The analogy I like to use is the medical field, a scalpel, right? If you're operating on people, that little knife that you cut people with, if you give that to a doctor who has the tools of the doctors, he thinks like a doctor, he is going to save someone's life with that knife. I could have that same tool, but I don't think like a doctor. I will screw somebody up with that. I will cut somebody and do some damage, right? So it's not about tools. It's how you think. And that's what I was. But here's a challenge that I found. People who aren't successful with money, they always struggle with that. They think they need to learn a strategy. They think they need to learn a technique. And when you come to them, they say, no, it's based on how you think. They get offended. They're like, what do you mean how I think? No, it's because these rich people aren't sharing their strategies with me. And I was like, I know it. I struggle with it too. So that's what I told the guy when he came to me. He lost a lot of money. I said, you know what? It's the hardest for people to accept, and I'm not asking you to accept it. I'm just asking you to just let it marinate in your brain and give me a chance to prove it to you. And so I started working with him. And you know what? We didn't work on strategies. We worked on him as a person, how he thought. You know, I gave him a mental reset. I said, stop focusing on money for, I think it was 30 days. I said, okay, and after those 30 days, here's 2 books I want you to read. So the 2 books were Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And a third book I didn't ask him to read just because it's so big, but it's one of the books that helped me out the most, getting over the animosity I felt from growing up in an abusive environment and things like that, is Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant from Within. Again, 3 books again. Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, and a third book I highly recommend is Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant from Within. But anyway, we worked on him as a person. It wasn't a quick process. He first sent me an email in March, just wrapped up working with him in July. So, change takes some time. And I'll share the results here again of those trades we placed after working with him and working on him as a person. I said, after we work on you as a person, then we're going to start trading again. Because you traded as who you were, how you thought. Here are your results. We use the exact same strategies we've always used, but you were failing. So now let me work on you as a person, how you think, how you approach life. Let's then use the exact same strategies again and see what your results are. Night and day. And I'm waiting on him. I just asked him, can he record his thoughts on that too? Because he told me he's had a change of heart and he now sees the light in so many words. Not his exact words, but you get the point. So if you have roadblocks and you're not accomplishing your wealth quick enough, I would spend the majority of your time working on yourself, finding books that help you think better, think like a millionaire. I think I shared another Philosophical Friday how we share quotes from people and you admire people. You don't usually you may be inspired by their money, but what do you really admire? How they think, who they are as a person. So that was my roadblock. It was learning how to think better. And I overcame that roadblock by giving up on strategies. And literally, I spent years reading books on how to think better, how to process life better. Because I tell my students, you will become a better trader when you become a better person. So let me load up. So now what I'm about to do is share the video with you I sent to Brian. Brian is a guy who lost, 75% plus of his money. I work with him. We placed trades together. I said I would show him, I would record a video of me managing those trades. He would manage his trades. We would compare notes. He had profit, I had profit. But this video or this snippet you're about to watch is a video I sent to him. And you will see how, those trades earn a 414% return on our money in 1 month and what I did to accomplish that. So I hope you enjoy this video. I hope this added some value to your life, or I hope it reinforced something you already knew to be true. So you take care, and I will talk to you in the next Philosophical Friday. Bye-bye. Hey, Brian, I thank you for your patience. This is Travis, and as promised, I told you when I close out my trade that I will show you my results, and then we can compare the difference between how we manage the trades. You've already emailed me and told me you've closed out your trades. So now I want to share my results. So let's get to the results, and I'll walk you through my notes here. So as you can see here on, I was hoping we would end here on a higher note. Before these trades just expired today. So before they expired, overall, I had a $544 profit on these stocks, or 572% overall, based on how I managed it. But these trades just expired worthless today, so bringing the profit down to $393, or 413%, which is still pretty good. So let's come back here. So we started here on 610, right? Open T and MO, and we split our risk between a directional trade and an income trade, because you told me how much you wanted to risk. And so I said, well, let's split it between a directional trade and income trade. Both will profit if the stock goes up. Because we did an income trade, that offset the purchase of our call options. And so our original investment came down to $95 versus, it would have been $200 and something here, because the income we received from the credit spread offset it. So that is why I got this high percent here, 413%, because it's based off of an original investment of $95 versus like 200 and something. All right, now MO, we look at the chart here. MO had some trouble starting off. When did we start opening these? We opened these on 610. So we traded these for about a month. So 610 was about here. And the first, let me just read my notes as we're looking at the spreadsheet. Okay, I put 617. I said closing the initial MO credit spread for a loss, as I ran out of time and the stock had not moved higher enough. I guess it got stagnant. So I closed that for a loss. However, once the stock started going back up again, I reopened two credit spreads as nothing had changed on the chart. I simply ran out of time on the other trade, and I put this would be seen as an adjustment to some. It's called rolling out your credit spread to buy yourself more time. Also, I bought back my T credit spread and opened another credit spread on that one because the stock still looked healthy. This is like a continuation of the trade in my mind. So that's, I don't know if you can, justification is a strong word, but that's how I see it in my mind. It's just a continuation of the same trade. Stock was still going up. We come over here, we look at the chart of T, nothing had really changed. My credit spread expired worthless. I'm like, well, let me open up another one. Okay, so that's what I did there. And then later on, I actually stopped trading credit spreads. I probably should have continued trading them. And if I had continued trading credit spreads, these trades probably wouldn't have been a loss right here. But anyway, let's come back up here and look at my notes for 624. So those were my notes at 621. I was just reading off. Okay, my notes for 624. I said closing T and MO trades because I've earned, in quotations, enough profit. I don't want to push my luck. Besides, the wacky price movement and high volume has me concerned. I don't like unpredictability, so I'm closing my trades until things settle out. Well, what happened on 624, you can see this high volume here, was the Brexit. And once I looked at the news, I don't have TV, so I had to go to Facebook to figure out what was going on and things like that. And it was that Brexit stuff. So that was going on there. So 3 days later, I'm like, stock's still showing some leadership because the general market was down due to the Brexit news, but they were still going up. So again, I don't know why I stopped trading credit spreads. I really don't know. But from this point on, I pretty much traded directionally. So I reopened a small directional position using weekly options because I didn't want to risk a lot on these trades because the general market was still making me nervous. So you can see the dollar amounts there. I didn't risk a whole lot, $21.59. They were risk-free trades because I was using my profit I had already earned up here. So this entire month, pretty much I traded risk-free. All these trades after about 621 were all risk-free, that I was just using profit I had earned on my other trades. Okay. And then 630 here, come down to 630. So here are the trades I opened on 627. They were showing leadership. On 630, T had 100% return on investment already. So I closed out that trade and re-entered another risk-free trade. So you can see I bought it back, or down here, I guess it shows where I sold it, 116. So the one I bought up here, the 42 call, sold it down here. And I don't know why the orders didn't all get filled at once. And so I just had to put it all here. So here's me re-entering. But if you count up the dollar amount, you can see it was a risk-free trade because all I did was just use my profits. And then 7.5 here, I put both MO and T had $100 plus profit each. So I cashed out and turned those into another risk-free trade. Re-entered another weekly on these two. And I said, I'm still just trading these two stocks because they're showing strength. And the story they're telling me is they want to keep going up in price. And you can see that recently changed. They started going stagnant and they started pulling back in price, which is reasonable. If you look at the run up they've had, they have the right to pull back and rest every now and then. And unfortunately, I bought these weeklies. It didn't have enough time. If I had bought an option further out in time, I probably would have been still in this and doing okay. But since I bought a weekly, the stock pulled back right around after I bought it. So these expired worthless, which was fine to me because this was just profit. It was a risk-free trade. I didn't, lose any of my original investment. And looking at the result, I mean, you can't beat that. In 1 month, a 413% return on your investment. If this was a 10 grand account, well, let's say this was a $95. All right, let's do $5,000. Not saying we would do this if we had a $5,000 account, but you can see here, let's imagine this was 2% of a 5 grand account, just two trades, 2%, you risk $95. We hit profit. Everything was risk-free after that. So now let's look at $393. So our profit just on these two stocks alone are $393 divided by a $5,000 account, which I think that's what you have now. That account in 1 month went up almost 8%. So this is why it's not that I laugh. I literally get frustrated with people when they're like, oh, you can't get rich following the 2% rule. It's too conservative. I'm like, I want to say they're idiots. They don't know what I know. I've lost money. This stuff works. You don't need to risk a whole lot because the leverage of options, where else can you get a 413%? So they're not idiots. They're just uneducated. They do not know how millionaires think. Millionaires don't like risk. Millionaires want to put in. Where else, if you own a business, and this is how they think, you own a business where you put in $95 and you get out $393. Do you want to own a business like that? You put in an investment of $95 and each and every month it kicks out $393 or it kicks out a 413% profit off of your investment. That's how business owners think. The people who aren't business owners, who aren't wealthy, they think you need to invest more. No, and all the wealthy people I know, they hate risk. They're looking for situations like this where they can risk 2% of their entire portfolio. And then, you get these outsized returns, like a 500,000%. As a matter of fact, I wish I could show it to you. I'm part of an advisory where this millionaire sends out stock tips, right? And he recommended a risky stock today. I won't even show it because, we had to pay a lot of money. I don't even know if I can share it. But anyway, what's amazing is this is a multimillionaire. This guy has made and lost millions over his years. His name is James Altucher. Okay, the stock he recommended says he expects about 1,000% return on his investment. Okay, here's the thing though. He said this is a risky investment. It should account for no more than 3% of your portfolio. This is a millionaire now. Now, he is giving you the same advice I am giving people, no more than a small percentage of your portfolio, yet he thinks it has a potential of having about 1,000% return on our investment. If he thinks that, why is he not telling us to load up and max out our account and 50%? No, because all the rich people I know hate risk, and they understand that you take these little small bets here, but you get these outsized returns. But on the flip side, no loss can take you out. If you're wrong, it can't take you out. You won't lose millions. And that is the way to accumulate wealth. And so I didn't mean to go on that rant, but it really does frustrate me when I'm trying to teach people the true way to build wealth. So I hope my notes here, I hope the way I manage this trade, you can pick up some tips. And here's what I need from you. We won't have time. This is summer. I'll probably be traveling here soon. I won't have time to schedule another webinar. I already know it. So if you have recording software, you said you have a microphone, you've emailed me. I'm not looking at your email right now, but you emailed me and said you've had a change of heart. This experience has benefited you. I want to know if you can record for everybody a wrap up, a summary, how you felt when we first worked with you, what was going on in your brain and your mind, how you feel now, especially how you feel now after this experience of profiting off of 2 stocks that you picked. Because remember, I didn't pick these. You said you thought you had a problem picking stocks, and I was like, no, you don't. You picked these trades. We made money off of something you picked. Like, how do you feel after that? Can you record a short summary, or it could be not so short, however long you want it to be? If I need to edit it down, I can, but send it to me if you can. I will add it to the end of our initial webinar. So we'll do pre and post. So I'll load up the webinar when we get this done. Then I will add in your audio to the end so people can see your progress after working with you. So if you don't mind doing that, let me know. If you can't make that happen, also let me know, but I hope you can. So I think that's it, buddy. You are on your own. We are done with this intervention. I thank you for allowing me to work with you. I thank you for allowing your story to be shared with the public eventually. Don't know when, but thank you for agreeing to that. And it's been a great experience. And thank you for these trades, because this is a great experience for me too, because I learned something myself. I'm like, duh, why don't I do this with all my directional trades? Split up the risk between credit spreads and income trades. And so that way I lower my initial investment. So anyway, so thanks a lot, buddy. And you take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.